just released and has already proven that the midnight shift can be your worst nightmare, or your best excuse to scream into the headset with friends. So today, I'm not going to waste time with the basics. If you want to survive the random shifts, spot doppelgangers before it's too late, and hit quota without becoming dinner, these 10 advanced tips are exactly what you need. Let's get to it because the clock is striking midnight and the next customer is already arriving. The emotion detector seems simple at first because it gives you an emotional reading of the customer. But I like it precisely because it doesn't serve everything on a silver platter. It's more of a puzzle piece than the final answer, and that's where the game gets interesting. The most important point here is not to blindly trust the scanner. When a customer says one thing but their mood shows another, like being overly calm, out-of-place stress, or even that erratic behavior that doesn't match their speech, that's when I would start getting suspicious. For me, that's the right moment to use the 5 interrogation questions, because if you spend them all too early, you'll end up out of mental ammo when things really get tight. And this becomes even more crucial against stronger doppelgangers, because these guys aren't just pretending to be human on a basic level. They can mimic reactions, posture, and even try to sell a convincing sense of normality, so the scanner becomes more of an initial warning than a final verdict. I view the emotion detector as a confirmation tool, not a solo decision maker. It tells you something's weird here, but it's up to you to cross-reference that with their speech, other signs, and the timing of the interview. In the end, that's the advanced mindset that makes the difference, not wasting questions for nothing. If I already see an initial inconsistency, then I press surgical questions, because each answer can dismantle the imposter's facade. In a co-op horror game, the secret is almost never just reacting fast. It's knowing when to hold the tension and when to press right on the weak spot. If there's one thing I learned playing these horror nights at the gas station, it's that the store's computer is your best friend. Everyone gets nervous asking about hobbies and favorite colors, but forgets that the game gives you an entire database to work with. In Shift at Midnight, we have to interrogate every customer, check IDs, and cross-reference information on the machine to figure out who's human and who's just a perfect copy waiting for the right moment to strike. And look, after several matches, I can guarantee you, memorizing the patterns of this system is what separates those who survive until dawn from those who become doppelganger food. The secret lies in 3 specific database fields: expiration date, occupation, and the customer's registered appearance. When the guy arrives at the counter, you already have his official version on screen. Then, it's just a matter of paying attention to what he says. If the computer says he's a mechanic, but he answers that he works as a teacher, my friend, there's no debate. It's a subtle discrepancy, a broken pattern, and a green light to grab your weapon and solve the problem before it solves you. The game gives you 5 questions, and I wasted a lot of time early on asking stupid questions instead of going straight to the source. What few people realize is that timestamps and expiration dates are classic traps. The doppelganger might look perfect, speak naturally, even laugh at your bad jokes, but their system record doesn't lie. I started taking mental notes. What is the listed occupation? What is the document date? What is the exact appearance? When I cross-reference that with the customer's answer and something doesn't add up, I don't hesitate anymore. In the beginning, I messed up a lot. Let things slide, or worse, shot innocent people and spent the rest of the night terrified, locking doors. But once you get into the rhythm of cross-referencing occupation, dates, and appearance with what the customer says, confidence comes fast. This is, without a doubt, one of the most reliable ways to spot imposters. The database is impartial, it doesn't get nervous, doesn't stutter, and doesn't make up stories. The customer might be the friendliest person in the world, but if the computer says his ID expired yesterday and he insists everything is up to date, you know what to do. Don't let shift pressure distract you. Look at the screen, trust the numbers, and pull the trigger when the math doesn't add up. At the end of the day, in this game, the best detective is the one who knows paperwork can't be fooled. There's a trap that ruined my first few nights, and it took me a long time to understand what was happening. You investigate the customer, spot inconsistencies, and know with absolute certainty they are a doppelganger. But then you make the foolish mistake of completing the payment before shooting. Seems logical, right? The guy made a purchase, you charged him, and eliminated the threat. Wrong. The game considers that a failure. If you charge a doppelganger and then execute them, it counts as an error, and they return at the end of the shift to attack you alongside the entity. I took beatings like that thinking I had played properly. The golden rule is deny service, investigate until certain, and execute on the spot before processing payment. Never let money change hands. When you notice a customer lying about their occupation, an ID date that doesn't match, or a visual profile that conflicts with the database, stop everything. Do not complete the sale. Draw your weapon and solve the problem right there. Afterward, clean up the blood and move on. This completely changes the dynamics because the game registers no failure. The monster loses its right to haunt you at shift end, and you maintain control of the situation. On busy nights, this approach is critical. When the station is packed and the line keeps growing, the pressure to sell fast is massive. It's easy to give in to temptation, serve the customer, charge them, and worry later if they're human. But doing that with a doppelganger means losing the sale anyway, unknowingly ruining your quota and guaranteeing a violent attack at shift end. I've seen entire teams fail missions because two players made this foolish mistake on busy nights. Quotas matter, but survival is the priority. What I love about this mechanic is how it forces you to be ruthless. The game doesn't reward hesitation or attempts to be nice by finishing service. If you are certain, act before payment. Deny service, pull the trigger, clean the body, and call the next customer. When you get into this groove, the shift flows differently. You no longer fear the end of the shift because you eliminated errors cleanly. The tip is simple: never finalize the enemy's purchase. Execute first, ask questions later. Or better yet, don't ask at all. I honestly think the biggest mistake you can make is spending questions without being sure of anything. It seems tempting to want to investigate right away, but with such a strict limit of 5 questions per customer, every attempt needs to carry weight. If you start on impulse, you risk running out of margin right when you meet someone truly suspicious. The game rewards those who observe first much more. Before interrogating, I would always look closely at the details: the physical ID, posture, how the customer reacts, even small behavioral inconsistencies. When one of these things starts deviating from normal, then it makes sense to tighten the net. Without that initial sign, you are basically spending resources in the dark. And this is the kind of tip that completely changes the way you play. Instead of treating questions as a default action, you start viewing them as a precision tool. I really like this logic because it makes the game tenser in a smart way. You don't win because you asked at the right time. The idea is simple but strong. First spot the crack, then open the investigation. When you wait for the first inconsistency to show, the 5 questions stop being an annoying limit and become your best weapon. And in a game like this, playing with patience is almost always worth more than playing in a rush. One thing I learned the hard way in this game is that everyone trying to do everything at the same time is a recipe for disaster. You're there, half the team trying to read IDs, the other half running to grab items off the shelf, and suddenly nobody notices that the customer in sunglasses is actually a creature waiting for the right moment to give you a lethal hug. In Shift at Midnight, the game demands you be a cop, clerk, gas station attendant, and stalker. And if you don't divide these roles properly among the 3 players, the night will swallow you whole. Hitting the sales quota is mandatory to pass the shift, so pretending only the horror part matters is an expensive mistake. The tip that transformed my matches was creating a division of labor routine from the very first minute. One player takes the detective role, 100% focused on the computer desk, checking IDs, asking the 5 questions, and cross-referencing information in the database. This guy doesn't leave the monitor even if the station catches fire. Meanwhile, the other 2 take turns cleaning, restocking shelves, and managing the fuel pumps. It's a simple shift system. One stays at the front of the store, the other handles backroom duties, and when they need to swap, they announce it via proximity chat. This organization ensures the sales quota is met smoothly, without leaving anyone overwhelmed or too distracted to notice when something goes wrong. What I love about this approach is that it eliminates that chaotic feeling the game loves to create. The developers clearly designed this contrast between managing a 90s gas station and the constant tension that anyone could be an imposter. When you have a player dedicated solely to interrogation, they don't miss a detail. They catch the micro-expression, the hesitation in the voice, the job inconsistency. Meanwhile, the other 2, being constantly on the move, maintain sales flow while still noticing if a customer is acting strange near the pumps or running in the dark behind the store. It's basically the ultimate teamwork rule. Everyone in their own lane, everyone stays alive. This division makes Shift at Midnight much more strategic and less dependent on luck. You no longer have to pray to finish the night without anyone dying because the process is right there, working. One focuses on IDs and interrogation, the other 2 handle stock, cleaning, and pumps. Quota met, store organized, and energy saved for when the doppelganger finally shows its fangs. If you're playing with friends and feel like the game is impossible, try this separation. I guarantee your feeling of control will change completely. The game places integrated voice chat right at the center of the co-op experience, allowing you to split tasks in real time without breaking the flow. Simple things like one cleans the blood, the other pulls the next customer, make all the difference when tension rises and the shift waits for no one. What I learned the hard way is that staying too far from friends cuts off communication instantly. Suddenly you're isolated, unable to hear team callouts, and becoming an easy target for whatever is lurking around the station. It's not just sticking together for the sake of it, it's a core co-op mechanic that genuinely punishes you if you decide to explore alone without warning. I like this system because it forces a more lively and chaotic playstyle. Instead of everyone doing their part in silence, you need to stay close, coordinating on the fly and reacting together. This transforms even the mundane tasks into moments of genuine coordination and makes the horror hit much harder when someone drifts out of range and their voice fades away. The rule is clear: don't isolate yourself. Keeping the team close keeps the chat active, protects everyone, and makes the shift run much smoother. Once you master proximity chat, the game stops feeling like a scary monologue and turns into that delightful co-op mess that makes Shift at Midnight shine. In the beginning, I also fell into the trap of relying solely on an ID or a strange answer, but in Shift at Midnight, that's practically an invitation to fail. When the game gives you layered clues, it's basically saying, don't read me halfway. What I find most interesting here is the weight of a laminated ID as a first clue. If the hologram shifts at an odd angle, if the border looks wrong, if the barcode strays from standard, or if the portrait has suspicious lighting, I immediately get wary. But alone, that's not enough, because the game loves planting false leads to make you drain emotional energy early. That's where my favorite part comes in, observing micro behavior. Small details like a laugh that trails off too late, footsteps synchronized too perfectly with the environment, or that persistent glance at the cameras reveal far more than it seems. And when you cross-reference that with the computer, manifests, timestamps, SQ counts that don't even match the register, that's when suspicion truly takes shape. It feels like the game rewards you for thinking like someone genuinely trying to uncover a lie, rather than just button mashing. To me, the most advanced detail of this tip is using mirrors, chrome displays, and tinted doors for extra angles. Sidestepping while asking questions to spot misaligned shoulders or badges is the kind of trick that separates regular players from those who understand the game's tempo. And honestly, that's why I love this mechanic. The 5 questions become poker chips, not infinite ammo. You don't play to see what happens, you play waiting for the right moment to go all in. There's a trap that ruined my first few nights, and it took me a long time to understand what was happening. You investigate the customer, spot inconsistencies, and know with absolute certainty they are a doppelganger. But then you make the foolish mistake of completing the payment before shooting. Seems logical, right? The guy made a purchase, you charged him, and eliminated the threat. Wrong. The game considers that a failure. If you charge a doppelganger and then execute them, it counts as an error, and they return at the end of the shift to attack you alongside the entity. I took beatings like that thinking I had played properly. The golden rule is deny service, investigate until certain, and execute on the spot before processing payment. Never let money change hands. When you notice a customer lying about their occupation, an ID date that doesn't match, or a visual profile that conflicts with the database, stop everything. Do not complete the sale. Draw your weapon and solve the problem right there. Afterward, clean up the blood and move on. This completely changes the dynamics because the game registers no failure. The monster loses its right to haunt you at shift end, and you maintain control of the situation. On busy nights, this approach is critical. When the station is packed and the line keeps growing, the pressure to sell fast is massive. It's easy to give in to temptation, serve the customer, charge them, and worry later if they're human. But doing that with a doppelganger means losing the sale anyway, unknowingly ruining your quota and guaranteeing a violent attack at shift end. I've seen entire teams fail missions because 2 players made this foolish mistake on busy nights. Quotas matter, but survival is the priority. What I love about this mechanic is how it forces you to be ruthless. The game doesn't reward hesitation or attempts to be nice by finishing service. If you are certain, act before payment. Deny service, pull the trigger, clean the body, and call the next customer. When you get into this groove, the shift flows differently. You no longer fear the end of the shift because you eliminated errors cleanly. The tip is simple: never finalize the enemy's purchase. Execute first, ask questions later. Or better yet, don't ask at all. Instead of everyone doing everything at once and getting in each other's way, constantly rotate roles. One acts as the caller asking questions, another serves as the analyst or recorder monitoring the computer and taking notes, while the third takes on rover or stalker duty, managing inventory, pumps, and cameras. This prevents burnout and keeps the shift organized even as paranoia rises. What truly elevates gameplay is establishing short, standardized callouts within the team. Terms like gamma sleeve, neon wallet, or blue jacket mirrors twice become quick shorthand so no one wastes questions on the same customer. When everyone understands these callouts instantly, you save precious interrogation slots and focus strictly on unverified details. It's simple, but it makes an absurd difference in efficiency. A detail many forget is that proximity chat requires regrouping. If someone is out in the yard or far from the counter, communication cuts off. Agree to return to the counter to share detector readings or findings from outside. Shouting alone from the other side of the station is useless. You must gather so information actually circulates and no one is left in the dark. This combination of role rotation, shorthand callouts, and regrouping at the counter transforms co-op chaos into something almost professional. The shift flows better, errors drop, and tension remains controlled. Once a team hits this rhythm, shift at midnight stops being random jump scares and becomes a satisfying coordination engine that truly rewards proper teamwork. For me, this tip is the heart of the game once you start playing seriously. In Shift at Midnight, trying to do everything at once to turn a profit fails, as quotas constantly push you toward chaos. What genuinely works is dividing responsibilities clearly. One player holds down the register while the others manage inventory, pumps, and the remaining tasks. When a team works loosely, vigilance collapses, and that's when the game catches you. I really like the strategy of moving pallets in pairs. It seems like a small detail, but it makes a massive difference. Beyond reducing annoying blind spots, it keeps the team far more aware of their surroundings. That kind of cooperative movement is crucial here, as the game requires you to balance speed with constant threat awareness while working. Another genius mechanic is using the mop tactically. It's not just cleaning for the sake of it. Mopping in arcs forces camera shifts to expand spatial awareness, while cleaning glass can reveal strange fingerprints missed when rushing. This provides a great sense of layered gameplay, where even routine chores serve as investigative tools. Furthermore, verbalizing placeholders is more vital than it appears. Saying something like BRB, grabbing Tier 3 smokes, keeps impatient customers waiting without disrupting the detection rhythm, proving how the game rewards team coordination and presence. Ultimately, this tip works because it merges two competing priorities, hitting quota and maintaining focus on what truly matters. In a co-op horror game, that balance separates an organized night from a total collapse.